You are now listening to the I Am Teflon John podcast show, where my job is to inspire you and change lives by provoking thought.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Teflon John, also known as Jonathan Smith. And tonight's video of the I Am Teflon John brand is called "How to Overcome Your Fear Through Personal Experience." And I'm blessed to have my guest host with me, Neli Andersen and Antonio Scott. So I would like to give them a few seconds just to introduce themselves. Antonio, we're going to start with you. Neli, we'll go to you if you want to just give a brief introduction.
Yes, this is a great. Thank you for having me. It's a great time, and we were just talking about fear and all these emotions and what can go wrong, and here we are. We're losing a little bit one of our co-guests. So
Yeah.
I'm Nelly Anderson, and I moved to the States quite a long time ago. Before that, I lived in Germany, and before that, I was born and grew up in Bulgaria. So my fears or my examples of fears this time around is going to be about changing environments. I have experienced a lot of them, so that's why I'm very well versed to talk about, and I'm happy to share soon. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, everything sounds good. So we're talking about your fear is changing environment, and I think change is like a huge fear for most people, especially when you're living in their comfort zone and everything's been the same for years. We lost Antonio. Hopefully he'll join us again, and I'll add him to the broadcast. But we'll go with what we have. So when it comes to fear, I'm going to read you the definition of fear, right? So it says fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that something or someone is dangerous, likely to cause pain. So I would like to go back to caused by the belief that something or someone is dangerous. So it seems to me that fear can be made up in your head because it's whatever you believe and whatever you perceive to be dangerous or a threat. So Nelly, when it comes to your fear, do you think that some of your fear or a percentage of your fear was calculated by you believing in something or magnifying something that was very minute?
Yes, that's correct, and I think that is a natural behavior, natural reaction. When we fear something, we don't necessarily tend to rationalize it, what it is. We just react to outside um, sources. And fear, actually, I went to or grow into liking it, being friends with it, just because I tend to think that fear is healthy when you know where it comes from. It is like the red light, danger, danger, stranger, just watch out. And that is a good thing to be aware of, to be aware of the environment, to be aware of the risks, so we can take risks calculated. And I have experienced also quite a lot of irrational fears. That's what has been in my head. What did they think? How did they think about people? That was generally connected with fear of judgment. What would other people say? What would other people think about what I do, what I say? How do I look like? How do I speak? How I mean, there's so many things that I can project my negativity on other people. And when I'm aware of that, I can actually get control of it and can exchange these thoughts with something else because honestly, nobody cares. I tend to live to believe like really nobody really cares. They care about what they care about, and mostly it is not me. It's not me how I look like and how I talk or how I live my life. They are busy living their own lives. So um, there are many fears, many categories of fears: fear of death, fear of pain, fear of poverty, fear of the judgment, and mostly fear of failure. I think that's something that I have experienced, wrestled with. I think I have won over that. Um, but I see that today's generations, especially young people, are having really hard time with that. They're paralyzed. The fear of failure can paralyze anybody to take action because they're afraid of unknown, of what is going to happen on the other side. So um, that's my overview on fear. It's not worth it to be fearful. It is dangerous to be fearless, but most of the time it pays off to not have fears. And as a believer, the Lord tells me, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid." But we gotta remember that, and not everybody has these beliefs. Somebody's not grown up with this, is not raised into that belief system, or it doesn't really believe it, doesn't really own it. So fear is a companion, a daily companion that I think it's healthy to acknowledge it, rationalize it, and move on. Yeah.
Okay, hey,
Hey,
so we have Antonio back. Hey,
Hey,
hi.
hey, okay. Yeah, that was some great points, Nelly. Great points, great points. How fear can be a companion. I like that. That's very powerful. Antonio, we're going to go to you now. If you can just give a brief introduction and then get into your personal experience with fear.
Yes, I'm Antonio Scott. Um, I'm a musician, family man. I'm a accounts manager at Pepsi. I'm a minister. And on those things, in those days, it's many fearful things you can encounter. Um, Growing up, I allowed fear to kind of crush me because I came up amongst many ministers and great speakers, and I guess I kind of allowed fear to creep in because I didn't want to fail them, and that they spoke so well, and they've been doing this thing so a long time and coming up under you know them under their wings, so to speak. I didn't want to fail them, and I allowed that to crush me a lot.
Okay. All right. So would you say, just like I asked Nelly, would you say that the fear that you had, because we're going to see a consistent issue, would you say that the fear that you had was a belief that started in your mind, with something that was small that you could have overcame earlier, but because you overthought it or you kept thinking about it and magnified. So would you say that you made that fear bigger?
Yes, I would definitely say that I made that fear bigger because I think anything we do, it first begins in our mind. It began in our mind. That's even if you have a great idea, before the idea is manifested, it starts in your mind. So fear is the same way. Before you allow fear to consume your life, fear starts in your mind. Um, and I probably took a situation that really wasn't that big, and I magnified it. Is what we choose to magnify, and is what we allow to consume us. Is whatever you feed, it will grow. And I will say that I did allow that to be magnified greater than what it should have been.
So, Nelly, just to ask you, you know how Antonio just said that he allowed that fear to grow because of what he magnified. Would you say that the average person contributes to the growth of their fear throughout their life?
Well, whatever you focus on, that's what's gonna find, and that's what is going to grow, and that's what is going to be magnified in somebody's life. So if fear is natural and it's normal, but if this is all that we focus on, our life is going to be consumed by it because we're going to get this tunnel vision, what we can be afraid of. And honestly, we can be afraid of getting out of the bed and going out of the house because danger is everywhere. Um, and some of this is completely rational. So my fear of heights, I have fear of heights. Well, guess what? I'm not gonna go bungee jumping. That's easy for me. I'm simply not gonna really go where there's a really tall places and walk on a beam or so. I would avoid situations, but if they're not avoidable, then I have to deal with it and see what else I can focus on. And my children challenge me, for example, let's climb a tree. Okay, let's do that. Or let's go climb some rocks. Well, let's do that. So if they are not afraid, and if the situation is so much under control that we can understand what the negatives can be and we can handle them, well, there's nothing really to be afraid of. I think when we know what the options are, um, what can be so scary? I mean, even a broken bone is going to heal. Um, or maybe not, but then we have to deal with that at a later time. Um, yeah, not focusing on the fear, I think it's important, but focusing on the outcome and the situation, on the alternatives, I think is helpful.
Okay. Yeah, those are some great points as well. Is not focusing, so redirecting your focus. One of my issues with fear is like, I've said this time and time before, but as a child, I grew up with a speech impediment of stuttering all the time, and I couldn't talk, so I didn't love and didn't like to talk around anyone. And what happened was, as I grew older, I shied away from a lot of opportunities to speak, whether it be reports in front of the class, whether it be something in church, whether it be a high school graduation. And make a long story short, I was offered as a personal trainer an opportunity to be a guest in at a event where I would speak on health topics. And at first, I was going to lie that I was busy and turn it down, just so I couldn't do it. So I took the event so I could tighten up and have no other choice but to. And let me tell you, like when I went up there and I just focused on delivering and being myself, it opened up something in me. Like I overcame the one hurdle that I thought I could never get across. And now you see me doing Facebook Live, you see me doing YouTube videos and everything, speaking events. Had it not been for that one event that I used to overcome that fear, there may be no Facebook Live. There may be no I am Teflon John. So what's crazy is until you put yourself in front of the fear. You know what I mean? Like, know what your fear is and put yourself in front. It's no way for you to overcome that. And I want to get into my next point is one way to overcome fear is you have to face the facts and know what your fear is. So I would like Antonio to elaborate on that for a little bit, just how you face the facts to know what your fear is.
The way I was able to face the facts and find out what my fear was, it actually ended up coming in the way of my job, where I'm employed at. And you know, with that fear that used to be in my back of my mind, I'm like, if I keep on allowing this to consume me, I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to step out. So for a great while, I used to allow that fear to paralyze me and to keep me from moving up in my job because I was like, I'm good where I'm at. I know the job. Um, I know amount of time it take me to do what I need to do and get the job done and go home. But it was an emptiness inside because I knew that it was more in me. So I had to allow the fear to keep from being a paralyzer to being a pusher. So I had to flip the fear because what I was fearing something that I didn't know was going to happen. I would allow maybe I may fail. Maybe I would not know what to do, and I was allowing that to keep me from moving forward. Um, so a position came up, and you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going for it. I put in time. I'm going for it, and I applied for it. I didn't get it, but it was like it was totally different than any time before. Other times, like I would have been crushed. The fear would have said I knew that I was gonna fail, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna push. So I applied again. Then I got the job. I was like, yes, I got the job. Because if I kept on standing in that place, I wouldn't be where I am now. I'm an accounts manager for Pepsi. I manage, I think it's like 70 and some change accounts. Um, and it's fulfilling every day. Every day it's a different task. Every day it's a new challenge. Every day I reach a new goal. And I had to say to myself, it's like pouring a glass of milk. If I pour a glass of milk and it falls over, am I not going to pour me another glass of milk ever in life? I could focus on I spilled the milk, and now I would never pour me a glass of milk or a glass of soda or anything else anymore because I allow that one moment to dictate my whole life. Um, and with overcoming that, it has presented some great opportunities for me. I've reached out to a lot of great people. Like I said, I get to talk to many people on a daily basis for the simple fact I flipped my fear. I flipped my fear. I kept it from, I let it stop paralyzing me to allow it to push me in my back.
That's great, man. That's awesome. And while we're talking about facing the facts, Nelly, I want you to go into maybe the importance of after you face the facts and know what your fear is. Why is it important to know what triggers that fear?
Oh, well, I think one thing that they teach in my classes is the fact that we need to be aware. All the classes for personal development, for leadership, for personal growth, they are around awareness. Are you aware of what your barriers are, what your fears are, what your shortcomings are? Are you aware of your strengths? And fear is really part of it, and especially the side that is so deep rooted that is in your subconsciousness that you don't even know why you fear certain things. And that has been conditioned. If you're an older person, that fear has been conditioned over years when you were younger through a constant negative feelings, negative um, life situations or some stress or traumatic events. I mean, there's so many things that it can actually instill fear of us. And over the years, we have masked that. We have not thought about this. We have not worked with it, and it has become us. It has become such a part of us that we cannot differentiate between what is the thought and what is the feeling, what causes the feeling. And we do a lot of time with my friends and the people I work with this exercise to really figure out where do you go home when you're afraid. What is it you think? Not just what you feel. You're gonna feel fear, but what is the thought that you connect with it? And people have to dig really, really deep to figure that out because it is covered, and they don't want to think about this because it's going to wake up all of these negative past emotions. They're gonna relive all over again. That's what they have tried to forget for years. But once you uncover this, and you have the help, and the help is really think over this, rationalize it, see what the reality is, what the facts are, then you can face it and you can dismiss it or you can work on it because some things need to be worked on. Some things are just imaginary, but others are real problems that have not been resolved over long periods of time, and they're legitimate reasons to be afraid because fear definitely in the long term destroys somebody's life. I mean, it paralyzes you, cannot make decisions, and you give up. It makes you hopeless, and that's the end of the road. I think when people get to that point.
And you know what's an interesting fact and what's crazy, right? It's your fear can be driven, right, by the opinion of others. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is like, like we talked about last live video, that the mind is conditioned by television. So your mind is also conditioned by what you take in. And it's funny how you could have like an ambition to want to be a speaker or an ambition to want to be an entrepreneur or leader on your job, but because so many people would dump their past experiences on you, it causes these anxious vibes, and it causes fear that you haven't had the chance to even experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want you guys, if you can, for a brief minute or two, can you give an example of where you've had a fear or you didn't go through with something because of what someone else told you about their bad experience with it? And Tony, I want to start with you.
Um, yeah, I can definitely talk on that. Years ago, I wanted to get my CDL, license for driving trucks, and I procrastinated for a long time because everybody's telling me, "Oh man, it's hard. It's hard. You got to take all these tests, and it's difficult." And for years, I wouldn't even go get the book. I wouldn't even go get the manual just based on what others said. Um,
Mhm.
so um, my wife gave me the news that we was gonna have our first child, and I was like, okay, I got to put this fear of not taking this test aside. I gotta do something, to get more income. So, I blocked out what they said, and I went ahead and got it. I got the book, and I was able to get my license. But that taught me something. What it taught me it taught me something very valuable. Um, Many people they will tell you that you can't, or they'll place negative thoughts in your head because a lot of times they fear themselves, but at the same time they don't want you to accomplish it. And if you want to do something, just do it. Just do it. Go for it. That taught me, never allow what somebody tell you, you know, to dictate what you want to do in life. You go for it. You go for it. And I still have my CDLs to this day.
That's great, man. That's great. Nelly, have you ever went through that? Have you ever not done anything or been discouraged to try something based upon the thoughts and opinions of someone else?
I almost. I am raised a little differently. My father was a military guy, and my mother was a teacher, so I was whipped quite often, to do it, to push forward, not to give up, keep going, and it was quite encouraged. But failure or quitting, I said not failure, but quitting was never an option. So you just got to do it. And I have holy fear of my parents. I still like I can I sometimes I call them and it's like I cannot tell them that I'm not gonna do something that I said I'm gonna do because I'm afraid that I would just have to push. And it's been really good. It stretches me, it grows me, it trains me, develops a character, it develops certain values that there's no way I can get from another experience except putting myself out there and trying something that I've never tried before. And the same thing, I just didn't tell my story just a little bit. I left home when I was 13 to study in a different school. So I left my parents, and I was afraid how I'm going to live without them, who's going to cook for me, if I'm going to eat, if I'm going to wake up. And it ended up being just fine. Then I went to a different country. I had the same fears getting on that bus, going away, driving away to Germany, knowing, man, these people over there are going to be speaking a different language, different culture. How am I going to, do that? But I spoke German. And then I moved to the States and I didn't even speak English back then. It's like, oh my God, how I'm gonna make a life in a country really on the other side of the world? And I don't even speak the language. I don't know anything and anybody. My all friends, my whole family is in a different continent, hours and thousands of miles away. But I think when you want to live, when you want to make a life and you want this life to matter, you just go and do. But one really moment of my life that I was very, very, very afraid and scared was when I met my husband in Germany. We got married, we were students, and because we were both foreigners, we were not allowed to work more than 90 days in a year. So we didn't have any money at some point. And we didn't have any visa, so no work, no money, no visa. It was just crazy, crazy time. And then I ended up being pregnant. We were waiting for the green card that was never coming. It took 3 years for my green card to come. So here we go. We are family, and then eventually we're gonna have a child. And everybody from my friends and close people said, "Are you crazy? You want to have a child? You have no job, you have no place to live, you have no visa, you have no money, you have no future, and you want to have a child? Um, this is not, you're not being a good, responsible person if you give birth to that child. You better go and get rid of it." And that went on for quite a long time. And I remember making an appointment with the doctor. So, well, they're right. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna give to that child? I have nothing, and I don't know where life is gonna bring me. And I walked to that office, and I was sitting there, and I think it was the Holy Spirit. I was not saved at that time, but I I got up and went. Here you go. I have a 15 years old daughter, and we keep saying this. I cannot imagine my life without her. I cannot imagine what life would have been if I gone through this and succumbed to the pressure and to all of this negativity that I will not be a good mother, that I will not make it happen. And it was really difficult, no doubt about this, but to every challenge that we faced, we found a solution. And for every person that was discouraging towards us, we looked and found twice as many people who were encouraging and who are helpful. And just to say, there is a hope, and fear is not the final, does not have the final say. And we have complete control over what we're going to think and also what we're going to do. It's in our hands. So yeah, I'm I'm very blessed that I didn't do a thing that I was a minutes away from doing and regretting for the rest of my life.
Yes.
That's great. My experience was when I was studying to be a personal trainer. I was taking the online course. I ended up talking to this guy that I work with, and he had a bad experience with personal training. But the 10 minutes I talked to him, like for 3 days, I changed my mind. I didn't want to be a personal trainer based upon what he said. And what's crazy is I didn't walk in, I didn't walk in there for myself. It's like shopping. It's like you want to go to Walmart and someone says, "Hey, there's no more milk in Walmart." They use milk like Antonio did. But imagine you never went to check for yourself. You know what I mean? So I think
Mhm.
you have to experience life for yourself. You have to go through, and any failure is just a chance to actually learn. And you have to look at fear like that sometimes, that it's worth the risk. Fear is a paralyzing, crippling agent, and at the end of the day, the more you're in fear, the less you move. Someone that's moving, someone that's doing, moves out of faith and not fear. Like faith and fear are almost the opposite. You know what I mean? But just remember that anytime you're not moving and anytime you're in fear, like it's the belief that something is dangerous. You know what I mean? So it's your personal belief. So you have to practice having faith and seeing what's not there. You know what I mean? And going forward. And that moves on to our next point is that one another way to overcome fear is focusing on what can be gained from whatever you're trying to do. So, Nelly going forward, leaving her parents, from Antonio going for the job, to me going to my certification, there was something gained. And Antonio, can you elaborate on just the importance of like you going forward versus you not going forward in your situation when you had a child on the way?
Me going forward and versus me not going forward. Not going forward, I was going to still be in the same predicament, just existing and not living, and that's what I was doing. I was existing, but I was not living life to the fullest. I was living life. What if, you know? Um, the gains of it, it opened up many different avenues for me. Um, like I said, meeting great people, um, learning things that I never would have learned before, um, talking in front of big crowds. Before, I always been a very personable person, and I can talk to anybody, one on one, anybody. But talking in front of great crowds of people used to bring some fear sometimes. But then you said earlier about know where your fear comes from. When I thought about that, I kind of tie fear and forgiveness together. You know, forgive yourself for fearing what you thought may was going to happen. Forgive yourself so you can move on and achieve the goals that you want to achieve in life. Um, See, forgiveness, you know, if you've been hurt in life, somebody hurt you, somebody mistreated you, somebody touched you improperly, anything, somebody said something that's completely ruined your name, and you walking around with unforgiveness in your heart. That thing is eating at you, and that person is actually at home sleep. They're not thinking about what you're doing. They eating every day. They going on with their life. They're achieving goals, and they haven't thought about it no more, and you are allowing it to eat you up. It's the same thing. The forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. So today I say, forgive yourself for being fearful, and don't worry about all the time that you wasted fearing. Now is the time. Now is the moment to move forward. Um, and I'm so happy that I was able to put my parachute on and actually jump out the plane. I was able to jump out the plane, and if you can get that visual in your mind, jumping out the plane the whole time, yeah, you can see the sky from the plane, but can you imagine you actually floating in the sky, floating in the cloud, and then you able to pull that parachute, and it opens up, and then it pulls you up in the freshness of the air. You living life. You no longer just existing. You living life to the fullest. That is what I gained by overcoming fear. I'm so happy, and overcoming fear. I could, I always love helping people. But I cannot help nobody until I can overcome my fear. Now I can show others how to really live life. Now I can really help people to the fullest because now I done help myself overcome fear.
That's great, man. That's powerful. Nelly, and with yours, what's crazy, you being 13, the average person in the United States, we raise a little different. You wait until you're 18. Some people are still 26 and older living with their parents. So
Yeah,
I really want you, if you can really focus on that dark time, because you were a foreigner, like you said, with no money, no visits, no visa. So can you try to motivate people that are trapped in fear, like how much growth took place during that time for you?
Well, I just say in Bulgaria, generally, you get to be with your parents quite a long time. You get to finish school. I was just in a situation where I wanted to go and study German in a different, just study German. It was a very intense class, a very intense school, and that school happened to be 30, 40 miles away. And it's not that far away, but I was not able to be with my parents. I was living in a dormitory. I had my one bed and with the common bathrooms and everything. It was completely different from the homey environment that I was used to at home. And I oftentimes, when I'm there, I think of people who don't have parents or who have ended up being without them on a daily basis for one reason or the other. And here I am, I have parents, I'm a love child, and then I don't live with them, and there's nobody to take care of me. So there's not much of a difference. Like you really have to take your life in your hands and survive. So I have this instinct to survive, and not just to survive, but to enjoy, to live, for my life to matter, like for each day to matter, not just sleep through it or not want to remember it. Good days, bad days, it doesn't matter. There's every day something to learn from the experiences. And once I saw that I can do that and I can rely on the help of my friends, I can ask for help, I can share, we can commiserate with each other and just move on and do daily life a little bit different, not the way we really wanted, but it was not bad. Then I got more confident. Hey, I can do that. So when I moved to the biggest city, I wasn't afraid. I knew I can do it. When I moved to a different country, there was this anxiety. Oh my, what is going to be? But it wasn't much different either. Everywhere people live, we have to communicate, we have to share, we have to have teachable spirit, humble teachable spirit, to be able to ask, to be able to be in a position that we can receive advice, um, even when we don't like it and we don't ask for it. And some people are really eager to give it all the time. I'm one of these, and the big one of these people. And I know sometimes my advice isn't asked, but I cannot help it sometimes. I have seen so much. I say, yeah, you may want to do something differently, but that comes with experience and understanding comes with experience. And moving to the States, like one thing that happened, I taught economics in Germany for 3 years. And the first time I started teaching at the university, I was 22 and I was 5'1", height and very healthy 96 pounds. Well, I was almost translucent. And I remember the very first day I entered that huge hall with 400 students. I felt so small, and I was supposed to teach a subject that I had the lowest grade ever in my college. that is that is irony of life, right? Like you're going there, you knew when you took that test, you messed up big time, you have the lowest grade, now you're there, you're young, your general students are 2, 3, 4, 5 years older than you. And I'm coming up front, and there are a couple of students. It's like, well, when is Mrs. Anderson going to come? Are we going to have a class? And it's like, yep, I am Mrs. Anderson. And they're like, oh, oops, oh, okay. Um, and some of them walked out. I remember that. They just saw me, and the first thing they did, they looked at me, they judged me, and they thought, huh, what am I going to learn from that, little person over there with, whatever. I don't know what they thought. That's what I think they thought. But they walked away. And that was something that I think hurt me. I felt inadequate, inequipped, not able to do something, but here was, I had to do it. And I moved on, and the second semester didn't care about who's going to stay, who's going to walk out. And I understand there's always going to be people who are going to like me and those who are not going to like me. And that's okay. I'm not here to change anybody's opinions, but to be with people who understand and are part of my vision, of my mission, the way I see life, to surround myself with people who share the same values, not necessarily the same vision. And even when we have conflict and we have arguments, we can do that well, and you can learn from each other. The same thing happened in the United States when I started teaching. I didn't even speak English, and I'm really grateful to the first quarter students who had to endure with me for 11 weeks. I knew I had to work. There was no way about this. I have to learn the language. I have to make money. I have to provide for my family. And that's what I had to do. So I found that job. They hired me. So I was like, now what? Now I have to really teach. And I knew the material, but I didn't know English well enough to be able to converse with people and answer their questions. So every night I remember for 2, 3 hours, I will write the lesson out. I will memorize it. The next day, when it was my turn, I was going and was reciting everything that I knew, that I learned. Everything was perfect. And then the questions came, and I feared to death what is going to happen. Like, if they're going to ask me, how I'm going to answer the questions. Like, I know the answer, but I don't know the language to answer. And of course, the questions came. Everything that I feared materialized, right? So, like, what do we want to do now? And I asked them, would you be so gracious? Well, I didn't ask him this way. These are really nice words to ask. I didn't know them back then. I was like, you know what? I cannot answer the question. How about you write the question down? I'm going to go home. I'm going to answer it, translate it, learn the answer, and I'm going to come tomorrow and I give the answer to you. You can wait till tomorrow. And, well, some of them were not really, very forthcoming, but most of them were. And that's how I learned, because somebody was gracious enough to give me a chance to do my best. And we always have to remember that there's somebody out there that wants us to do our best, and they need us to do our best. So we have nothing better to do but to do our best. And they're always going to be the naysayers. So once we're okay with that, there's literally nothing to be afraid of. And just go and do. Be brave. Jump. Like, fear of heights, I do jump off every day off that plane, not always with the parachute open. And that is the best part. Landing on God's wings, I'm soaring. And that is the freedom. When you're not afraid, you're free. If you're afraid, you're a slave. And we have to choose our slavery. Like, there are many ways, but fear is the biggest slave master. And we have the key to unlock that door and just be free. So we got to do it every day. It's a daily decision. It's not like, oh, okay, I decided yesterday and today everything is going to be fine. It's not. So when fear comes, Just acknowledge it and move on.
Great, guys. Great information. Great information. Um, there's one thing that I would like to say is now it's time for let's take fear and let's turn it on his head, right? So
Mhm.
basically, one way, and this is going to be like our last and most powerful point, in my opinion, but one way to overcome fear is to take fear's power away, right? Is to let fear motivate you, like Antonio said earlier, like Nelly said earlier. Let fear push you, right? So what we're going to do is go on positive reactions of fear. And I would like to just start off is that fear will make you listen and fear will make you change. And if you don't believe me, talk to anybody who's been given a terminal diagnosis or talk to anybody that's been given a scare with their health. They'll live
Right.
reckless and all of a sudden somebody say something and they're on the straight and narrow. They're trying to change. And sometimes fear can be that ultimate motivator that'll force somebody to do what somebody else has been trying to get them to actually do. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just human nature, but some people are motivated by different elements. And sometimes fear can be that catalyst that will speed up someone's rate to change or to actually do, to take action. You know what I mean? Like Nelly at the age of 13 was leaving on her own, and Antonio was forced with, hey, I got a child on the way, I have to do something. It's something about that instead of letting fear cripple you and take you over, it's like, man, look, I have to do something. And so I think that's very important. And I want all the listeners to actually gather that is it's March about to approach April, and I know everyone's had goals, New Year's resolutions, or just life resolutions. You're going to reach a point in life where you're going to get hit by life and fear at the same time. And it's up to you to make a decision then that this is going to propel me and not pull me back. This is going to be the engine to my boat and not the anchor. Because if you make that choice in your mind, and that's where fear starts. It's all a belief that something is dangerous. So if you flip it on its head and say this is a belief, this is an indication that this is my time to go. This is my time to push. And I guarantee you, it'll propel you because now you're reprogramming your mind. And like Antonio said, fear starts in your mind. So can you guys just elaborate on that and just give our listeners like a way to allow fear to push them? I want
Yeah.
to start with you, Nelly.
Oh, well, I you kind of touched a sensitive point also in my life about health scare. I had one in my life a couple years ago, and it was completely debilitating. I had it was a traumatic moment that I experienced that triggered some major anxiety issues that turned to depression, very big depression and debilitating depression, anxiety, so much so that I was not able to go into a car to drive, to be driven, to go to work, to meet people, to go shopping, to do, I mean, I could not do anything within maybe a couple months of that experience. And up to that point, I was that person who thought that if I don't wake up, the sun is not going to shine. Uh, and the world is not going to turn around and nothing is going to happen with me. Well, when that happened, I started looking at life how it just passes by me. I was sitting in a chair waiting for my kids to give me some tea or feed me, talk to me, massage me, for them to come and be part of my life because I was not able to. And at the same time, while I was having a fear to even go out of the house because I thought I'm just gonna die, um, my neighbors and my husband were pushing me. Do whatever you fear. Do whatever you fear. If you're afraid of walking, go walk. If you're afraid of driving, go drive. And I just want to be very careful when I say, and I'm aware of that when we tell people don't be afraid. We can tell this to people who are in their right mind, um, who are mentally able to understand, who have no chemical disbalance in their brain for what reason. And it's a very difficult thing for people who are in midst of anxiety and depression to do that, and they need a whole lot more help. For me, I don't know if it was my fighting spirit. I didn't want to stay where I was. I wanted to just live, and be part of my kid's life and be grateful for each day. And that gave me a fighting power to overcome anxiety, to be healed, to look for solutions, not just to take sleeping pills and anti-anxiety medication, which was the only options that some doctors were providing me. I was looking for the root cause. I found it, I faced it, I resolved it with help of many people, but that requires desire to live. And as long as we're alive, every problem has a solution, and it can be found. And I just want to encourage everybody that nothing is bad and nothing is final but death on this earth. I mean, I am not afraid of dying because, hey, all my problems are going to be resolved in an instant.
Yeah,
So there is no fear of that. But while we're here is the scary part. And for us, um, from my old pastor from the church that fell apart, I just remember that for many believers, this life here on earth is as closest to hell as we ever gonna get, and for many unbelievers, this is the closest to heaven as they're ever gonna get. And just to know that gives the freedom and the power and the desire to do whatever it takes every day and to love on people, because we don't know where with whom we're going to spend eternity, and we got to look forward to that. We're eternal beings and everything matters, and fear is really not final. Just we got to keep living every day and
yeah,
loving on people and not forgetting to love on ourselves too.
yeah, yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. I agree. I agree because where I had to flip fear and allow it to be positive. Um, um, just if I have a real moment right now, um, even to speaking right now, and the fear that I have of stumbling over my words or missing a great point that was said, it pushed me to listen closely. It pushed me to pay attention even harder because I don't want to miss nothing. Because I don't want to, Jonathan asks a certain question, and then I'm answering the wrong question. I'm off. I'm off. So the fear of being off pushed me to listen, so I won't be off. And then Nelly, um, uh, thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate that. I had something similar with as far as my health. Um, I had an infection in my body. I share my story. I had weight loss surgery some years back, and it's like it's a big number. I'm just gonna say 1 out of 1 million. I don't know the exact number, but you can get this infection and it can kill you. But I had numerous things going on in my body, and I just thought it was from the pain from the probes that I was going, when I had my surgery. But kind of find out it was actually several different infections in my body, and I almost died. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even drink regular water. It was like I was eating a spoonful of sugar, full of sugar. It was like that's weird. One of the purest things you can drink, water, and I couldn't even drink it because it tastes like pure sugar cane. And in the moments of not knowing if I was going to live or die or what my next outcome would be, you know, I thought about my children, um, and my wife. And then on top of that, I thought about all the things, that I didn't do because of fear. So if this was going to be my last moments here on this earth, well, I would have been happy with myself because I allowed fear to crush me. Now, in that moment, laying on my deathbed, the fear of dying and not using my life to really help people and really to fulfill, to get that fulfillment of life. I couldn't deal with that. So I was like, I'm going to live in spite of. And on that deathbed, on that bed, I was encouraging the nurses. They come in there. How are you doing today? How are you working hard? Are you okay? They looking at me like I'm crazy. My heart beating like it's about to pop out my chest, and I'm sharing, just great things with them, encouraging them. Um, to a point where it was kind of funny that the nurses they got kind of upset because I had to leave intensive care and go back to a regular floor, and they was fighting. No, we want him to stay here with us. And it's like, okay, I understand now, guy. And as I stated before, I'm a minister. The scripture said, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures." See, going through life, I was trying to, the moments I was talking about my job, I was trying to build a name for myself, or leave a legacy for my family. But God said you were not listening to what I was saying. You know. So in that moment, that deathbed was actually my green pastures. See, normally when you think about green pastures, you're thinking about, you're in the meadow grass, hilly side with the grass kind of long, the wind blowing through the grass. You laying down in the meadow grass and the birds flying over you, the sunshine hitting you in your face. A picture of peace. But sometimes it comes a moment in your life where you got to lay down and really have a chance to really reevaluate life. The fearful moments, the good moments, the sad moments, and how have I allowed fear to crush me? And when I lay down in the bed, I tell you, Nelly, I tell you, Jonathan, I tell you, people, everybody who's listening to this video, don't let something like that to have to happen to you to really allow you to go ahead and jump, to really go ahead and step out on faith, to really go ahead and put in the application. I'm like this, man. Even if I don't qualify for the job, put the application in. Even if I don't know everything concerning a job or position, um, outreach. Many people want to do outreach. I always wanted to do outreach and go out into the community. Never really knew how. Just start somewhere. Just great tool that we have right here. Our phones, our computers. It's back in my time, I used to go through Encyclopedia Botanica. Now I'm like the kids got it made. Now they have Google at their fingertips. You can just get information like that. Don't don't be fearful. Don't shortchange yourself in life. I've done that too much. I'm 35 years old now, and as long as Nelly, you said something. As long as I'm in my right mind, I will never again, with the help of God, and I'm in my right mind, allow fear to crush me so that I'm paralyzed, crippled. You know what I'm saying? We look at people that is crippled and paralyzed and we feel sorry for them. But a lot of times we live life worse than they live. Here we are, we have legs to walk, we have our feet, we have the activity of all our limbs. And we in a worse shape than somebody in the wheelchair. I see many people out in the wheelchair still playing basketball, still working, still, promoting, still, getting endorsements, doing weightlifting contests. So you have a strong mind, a strong body. Go for it. Go for it. You know, if I leave anything with you, if I don't leave anything else with you today, I would like to say, chance boosts my confidence. When I took that chance and things started to change. It boosted my confidence. The more chances you take, the bigger your confidence you get. You just got to take that chance.
One
Awesome,
thing,
awesome.
yes, I just wanted to add because it really fits so well into your story and something that they said really in the beginning how fear, when it's our companion, is the best thing that can ever happen to us. For
Yeah.
me today, and since I've experienced so many things, I do feel fear, but it is not the scary, paralyzing feeling that I have.
Yes.
It is, oh, I know that feeling. That means I have not done something before. I don't know how to do it. I am a little unprepared. Guess what? We together are gonna grow. That is going to be experience that is going to expand my ability, is going to expand my view, is going to strengthen my character, is going to add value to me in some way that I'm going to be able to share it with others. And it's actually exciting. Um, you can call it adrenaline junkie, right? I think this is that fear of the adrenaline
Mhm.
junkie, the bungee jumping or jumping off the airplane. That is that fear that we can turn it around and say, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do something that I know the ride is going to be awesome. I don't really know where I'm gonna land, but whatever I'm gonna see, that
Wow.
view from that far up, it's amazing.
That's
And
right.
once we
Yeah.
embrace it, we can work with it. We are moldable, and our curiosity is being satisfied in healthy way. And as I said, fear is a very, very healthy feeling, and when we embrace it, is going to be our best friend to overcome any obstacles.
Great. That's amazing, man. This has been a terrific, amazing episode. And
Yeah.
just listening to you guys and just listening to what we're doing, I I know we hit fear from a lot of angles, and I know a lot of people will be inspired. And I'm gonna just go ahead and just kind of wrap things up. Just to kind of sum everything up, all the listeners and all the viewers that, fear is a companion. I think that's a powerful statement. I've never heard it put like that,
Yes.
but fear is a companion. You know what I mean? And fear will be something that will be with you until the day you die. But it's how you allow that fear to be used. Will you let it be used to cripple you, to stop you, or will you let it be used to push you and propel you to our greatness? Fear is nothing but a vehicle that is responsible for your transportation to greatness. And it's for us to get in there and, like Nelly said, enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. And Antonio used some great examples, like you want to live your life empty. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to live your life full, and you don't want to die full, but that means you're full of potential, and potential is something that you haven't done yet. So you want to go out, do, pursue, keep going after it. And remember, fear is not always a bad thing, but fear can also be that motivator to push you. But don't let it get to that point to where you're on your deathbed or to where you're at the last straw before you actually get with the program. And look around. Many people are waiting on you. A
Yeah.
lot of a lot of the viewers is people watching you, 5 or 6 people watching you, and they are in fear and they're waiting on you to come out. And like we did tonight, we shared our stories, and by us sharing our personal stories, it's telling people that, hey, it's possible. There are so many people dealing with the same issues that we are dealing with, and we've overcome. So guess what? You can overcome. The Bible says that we are overcome by the word of our testimony. And all we're doing is
Yeah.
giving you stories, real life stories of how we overcame fear. And we want you to take those stories and run with them so you can overcome fear. Please share this video. Please share the feed. The podcast version of this video will be available. But I just hope and pray that a lot of visitors to this live feed and a lot of listeners to this podcast episode will be forever changed. And if you're not, we pray that that seed is planted in your mind and that God will water it so you can one day overcome fear. Um, like I said, thank you, Nelly. Thank you, Antonio. Great job. Awesome job tonight. And I'm going to close out like I always do. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys attack life and go after it. One
Yeah.
love. Be blessed.